Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kam Johal Show. Today my guest Ravi Suman is a specialist in health and wellness. So we're going to discuss general health and wellness and how it relates especially to the Asian community, because we don't always look after ourselves, and post-pandemic we need to have a look at what we've been doing. So those lockdown pounds may need to come off, and what we're going to do about those. So welcome, Ravi.
Hello, Cam. Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yes, great to have you back. So Ravi, in the last show we talked about an amazing career on the corporate side for over 20 years. But apart from that, you have a thriving entrepreneur attitude and business in health and wellness, right?
That's right. And so I set up Ravi Suman Wellness, which is my well-being business. And it was something that I always wanted to do, I was passionate about. And I was asked many times earlier when I started my corporate career that I should also explore how I can help people make positive changes in their life.
Yes, because even in the last show you talked about protein powders and things, right? So you've been into health and fitness yourself for a long time?
I have, and sports has been part of my childhood. When I was 8 years old, I had aspirations to be a world-class football player. And so I started doing football training in the local community with a West London club, which is now in the Premiership.
Okay.
And
who's your hero? Who did you want to be when you were aspiring to be a Premier League footballer?
Oh, at that time, it was the 1986 World Cup, and I always looked up to Diego Maradona.
Okay.
And I also had English footballers who I looked up to, such as Brian Robson,
yes,
Sir Bobby Charlton,
yes,
fantastic players, George Best. So England has had some great footballers.
Absolutely.
But the 1986 World Cup was something that I can never forget, because not only did it just reinforce my passion in football, but in sports. And if you're passionate about sports, it does have a great impact on your life in many ways.
Of course, of course. So you've kept yourself fit, been interested, has aspirations of being a footballer, as many a young man would, right? Totally understandable. So alongside your corporate career, when did you decide to set up a wellness and a health and wellness company?
This goes back now towards the end of 2019, when when I entered my first natural bodybuilding competition in with FMC Fitness and bodybuilding on one stage, FMC Federation in the UK, and that was in July 2019. And I entered that, and I got my pro elite status. And unfortunately, because of the lockdown, I just haven't been able to compete in 2020. But I'm confident that as the months go on, it'll be a great opportunity to go back on stage and compete, which is what I love doing.
Okay, so Ravi, you mentioned a word there about being a natural athlete, in terms of the competition. So that means no chemicals and no steroids and all that kind of stuff. Can you explain to us what that actually means?
Yeah, and when I use the term natural, I don't want to sound derogatory to those great athletes who are competing in open physique competitions in bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's just different, isn't it? It's not wrong or right. We're not, you said, we're not here to judge.
Yes.
It's just, we just want to clarify what it is that you do and why you do it.
Yeah, so that's more on the classic physique.
Okay.
So bodybuilding has different categories. You have the open physique, you have the classic physique, and bodybuilding today has more categories than it's had before.
Okay.
So when you look at the years of the 70s, which many people see as the golden era of bodybuilding, where you had one of the gods of bodybuilding, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The god.
That's right. And so that era, it was just bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
And now when you look at bodybuilding, you can say it's become very industrialized. And what I mean by that is the different categories. So you have the fitness category, you have the open physique, where you have the Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia, you have the classic physique, and then you have, you know, the fitness modeling categories as well. So the categories that I competed in was in more classic, natural fitness modeling physique, because that was my first competition.
Yeah.
And so I needed to start somewhere before I can, and gradually keep transforming my physique. However, I entered that competition when I was that's July 2019. So I was 42 years old.
Wow.
42 years old.
Yeah.
And
what was the age of the people you were competing with?
You had people there that were in their 20s, they were in their 30s, and I mean, there were different age categories, right? You had an over 40s category, which I was part of, and it was very. I felt it felt like salvation, and the reason why I'm saying that is because no matter how old I get each year, as everyone does, it all depends on how you live your life and your perception of life.
Absolutely.
And the body listens to the mind and it responds. And there were, you know, many negative thoughts I was coming across from myself about doing this competition. But it's something I had to do. It was burning inside me, and others that have known me for years who have had successful gym businesses all said to me, you know, we still want to see you on stage and compete.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? You said that it was kind of calling out to you that you had to do it, put yourself out there, because, you know, we all compete with ourselves internally, don't we? But sometimes we need to know how good we are against competition, right?
No, that's correct.
It's the only way to know, isn't it?
No, that's correct. And when you look at all the great bodybuilders out there, they've all said that they don't always show their physiques in the gym or anything, because they're not standing next to who they're going to stand next to in the Mr. Olympia competition, the Mr. Universe. So you have to just keep at it. You have to keep at it. And
we talked about this in our previous show, didn't we? So the average Joe that goes to the gym wants to do a little bit of exercise, wants to get fit, and that's great, isn't it? But their destination isn't to win competitions. So there's no point in, like you said, getting your top off and comparing yourself to them, is there? Yeah. Because they're not going where you're going, where every person that is going to those competitions is in a completely different mindset, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And people enter competition for various reasons. Others do it because it was burning inside them for years, which was one of the reasons why I entered. Others do it because they want to fulfill their potential, which is another reason why I entered. And others do it because they want to make it a profession, and they can make it a profession, and bless them. So having that mindset that you want to be a champion and be the best in what you love and are passionate about is what drives people to do it.
Fantastic. So what led you to open the health and wellness business?
I want to fulfill my potential. I have to keep on exploring the curiosities I have about life, about business, and about, you know, what I can do to help people. And there's people that are very dear to me that have had major health challenges and health problems. And, you know, I know people that have sadly taken their life. And so I want to do what I can, you know, to help people make a positive change.
Yeah.
And you know, whether that's reducing body fat, gaining lean muscle, or just improving general health and well-being. I want health and well-being to be more accessible to everyone, which is why the people who I typically train and advise on are, you know, they're mainly over 40 years old from a professional corporate background. That's not to say I wouldn't train anyone younger.
Sure.
You know, men and women of different backgrounds. But my goal when it comes to well-being and health is to help people fulfill their potential and live a healthy and happier life. That's my purpose.
Ravi, how do you make it more accessible? Surely, we've got the internet, you can Google everything, you know where the local gym is, you know where the local park is. What could we do to make it more accessible? What's stopping people from, A, you use the word fulfilling their potential, B, generally being more active and more fit?
There's a lot of negative energy out there. And what I mean by that is, some of the biggest people that have doubted me professionally and personally in my career are people that have known me my whole life. So it's you have to cut that off. I'm not saying cut ties with family, I'm not saying cut ties with friends, but when someone says you can't do it, each to their own. You are what you think you are.
Do they do that out of jealousy or out of love? Are they trying to protect you and say, Ravi, you can't do this, so don't fall over and get hurt? Or do they think, Ravi might succeed at this, so he shouldn't do it? What do you think? What do you think drives people?
I think when people react that way is partly because of fear of the unknown. They're not a risk taker. I'm a risk taker.
Do you think? No, I don't disagree. I totally disagree with this term. You see, risk taker. Okay. I don't think you're a risk taker at all.
Okay.
Right? Because risk is something, that you take because you're willing to lose. You knew when you started that you weren't going to lose. There may be the slightest possibility. But a person that goes into business has weighed up all the pros and cons long before, and they've doubted themselves for years sometimes. How many years was it that you were thinking about starting this business and finally did it?
Let's just say that while I had my corporate career and in 2001, 2002, the people who I was working for, my employers, actually said to me,
yes,
there's nothing wrong with me still having a corporate career and helping people live a healthier life.
There you go. So how many years would you say?
That well over 15, 16 years.
That you were thinking about doing this? Because you see people, a lot of my family and friends is, Kam, you're a risk taker. Do you know something? If there's a 1 in a million chance of crossing the road and getting hit by a bus and I don't have to cross the road, I will not cross that road. I'm the most risk-averse person that you could ever imagine. But you see, to me, the risk is also in not doing something.
Correct.
Not taking that opportunity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't it, what's the worst thing, lying on your deathbed, knowing that you didn't try something or trying that and you failed? What would you rather have?
I'd rather be a warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right? I want to die in battle, not lying on my bed. And that's it, isn't it? So to me, the greater risk is in not doing something, because it may not work, but what if it does work? Then what?
Yeah. And I think, and I mean this in a respectable way to people that have known me my whole life, that I know they say things to protect me out of compassion and love and support, but because they're not in my shoes, they don't know what I'm going through.
Exactly.
They don't know what fires
in here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because what makes one person happy doesn't mean it's going to make me happy. A classic example is, I'm not against people who are married and have kids, but I'm not married, I don't have kids, but I'm content in myself, and I have a relationship with God, and that makes me happy, and that's irreplaceable, and that's incomparable.
Yeah, but that's your life choice, isn't it? You're entitled to that, they're entitled to that.
Yes.
So you talk a lot about God, and when we've spoken, you quote Vaheguruji, and we when we have messages between ourselves. And would you say you're religious or would you say you're spiritual?
I'd say I'm both. And when I use the term religion or religious, I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to make an atheist or an agnostic convert into a religion. I'm not, and I'm not going to tell anyone how to live their life. But I, feel deep down that I have a purpose in this world, and I have a purpose in my life, and I'm just trying to explore and fulfill that, explore and fulfill my potential. And because I've had more down points in my life than good points, I've had more losses than hits. I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to fail. I know what it's like to be in pain, all types of pain. and you know, there's a saying, suffering builds character, and it's built my character, and it's sort of, and you know, it's my parents' teachings and my faith in God that's helped me throughout the entire journey, and it's going to continue to, and I'm nowhere near fulfilling my potential. This is just the beginning of the beginning.
That's wonderful. You know, Ravi, I've interviewed many people, and most of them, most successful people, have a great belief system. You know, they may not be religious, but they're very spiritual, and you know, they want to be close to their maker, as the term sometimes goes. And I certainly, you know, feel exactly the same way as you do. You know, very spiritual. I don't think I'm particularly religious, but I'm a very, very spiritual individual, and karma and all those things are very important to me. You know, do you see that pattern? Because you deal with, you know, very successful people in the corporate world, and obviously you've competed in terms of your health and wellness. You know, do you see that as a common thread in people, that they're close to their religion or they're very spiritual in some way?
The commonality that I see is they understand their purpose, and they have a vision, and they don't want to live their life being dependent on an organization or an employer or an entity. They want to be creators.
They're in charge, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're in charge of their destiny, aren't they?
Yeah, they want to be creators. That is the common thread.
Yes, yes, yes. So tell me about health and wellness. You know, you train people, you know, in diet and health and wellness. What about our community? What do you see, you know, in the Asian communities, health and wellness? You know, we see a lot of people suffering. Diabetes is a very big issue in our community. And something I was going to ask you before we go into that, from your technology knowledge, you know, can you please confirm to me, you know, that in the vaccine, you know, how do they put the tracking devices in to know where we all are? Is that something that can be done through technology, or do you think it's absolute rubbish, which is what I think it is?
No, there are ways. There's you know, the IoT is the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
And that monitors movement across data points.
Yeah.
So without me going into it in technical explanation, but you see all these things everywhere. I mean, at home, you've probably got a smart meter.
Yes.
Right, so it's monitoring your consumption of the utility of the energy,
yes,
or the gas.
Yes, of course.
And then you've also got broadband routers.
Yes.
Right, so wherever the broadband routers are in the world connected to broadband lines, they give data, and that data goes to somewhere where people can get insights on the usage.
Yes.
So if you use those very simple examples, it is possible.
But what I'm saying is, they don't need to put it into the vaccine. We've got it. We're holding it right in our hands, aren't we? Our tracking devices. You've got a mobile phone in your pocket. I've got mine, and everybody. So we don't need to put stuff in the vaccine to find out where we are, do we?
I mean, I'm not saying that there's IoT or other components in the vaccine. What I'm saying is that with the Internet of Things, things that you thought 10 years ago wouldn't be possible are possible. With advances in artificial intelligence, with machine learning, with algorithms. Things are possible now that were not possible earlier.
Absolutely.
And I'm not starting a conspiracy theory. I'm just simply making it clear, as others have done, in and outside technology, that we are advancing as a civilization.
Yes.
And technology is moving very quickly.
And it's helping us, and it will also have, you know, it could have some detrimental effects as well, but on the whole, it's for good, right?
Yes.
So, diet, fitness in our community, what do you think?
Well, so one of the problems with the Asian diet, and I'm talking about Indian subcontinent here, that it tastes great. It's probably the best taste in the entire world, and
both of us might be biased slightly, right?
Yes. but the thing is that it sometimes we have to be mindful about how much butter or ghee we put in things, at what temperature do we cook it at. And it's naturally high in carbohydrates.
Yes.
So what happens is you have roti at home. So roti, wheat, that's a form of, and I'm not against carbohydrates.
Of course.
All right. It's just having the right type at the right time and knowing how to make the glycemic index work for you. So you're managing your blood sugar levels. But imagine a meal where you're having roti and you're having sabji and you're having paneer, mutton paneer, and you're having, and then you might want to have a samosa afterwards, right? So it's very high carbohydrate.
I usually have my samosa first, actually.
Now you reminded me if weddings are opening again, you know, it's nice to have that 9:30 in the morning. I'm going to go to the Mooney because
I went to a wedding in Leamington yesterday.
Okay.
First weekday wedding ever. And yeah, definitely had samosa about 9:15 yesterday morning. Absolutely fabulous. And barfi and everything else. So what you're talking about generally is a carbohydrate, vegetarian diet there, right?
But it's also high in fat.
Okay.
And so what it is, when you combine high quantities of fat and carbohydrate in the same meal, especially if it's high glycemic, what the body's having to do is absorb all that in one go.
Yeah.
And then it does trigger your insulin levels to spike. Now insulin is a hormone which regulates your blood sugar. So the moment that gets triggered in high spikes, it could promote fat storage. Yep. So that's, you know, a very simple way of describing it. It regulates your blood sugar. So as a result of imbalances in regulating blood sugar, what happens is people can develop diabetes.
Okay.
Whether it's type 1 or type 2.
Right.
So it does come down to diet, but also you have to have activity, physical activity, movement.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying, you know, train at the gym 5 days a week or do heavy weightlifting or powerlifting. What I am asking is that people do some type of movement.
Yes. Yeah. So what we're not saying is don't eat dal, sabji, roti and everything, but in moderation. Yeah? What's the flip side of that? So if I've got a basic, like you're saying, a South Indian, a Punjabi diet.
Yes.
Right? And especially if I'm a vegetarian. Right? So how can I balance that then? Because these are our favourite foods, right? We're going to eat samosa. We're not going to stop, are we? Right? We're not going to stop eating barfi and jalebi and stuff like that.
No way.
Okay? Why would we? They're too good. Okay? So how can we balance that?
Well, the way how we can balance that is have more fiber in your diet.
Okay.
Now, the thing about fiber is not just good for your gut health and your intestine and you know, helping you with your bowel movements, but also fiber is very important for keeping the body feeling full.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
what kind of foods have fiber in them?
So you need soluble and insoluble fiber.
Okay.
And so those types of fiber you'd get would be from oats. I'm not talking about, you know, flavored oats with syrup. I'm talking about plain oats.
Plain oats.
Yeah.
Not the stuff that you put in the microwave and it's flavored with this plain oats, right?
Yeah, plain oats. And also asparagus is great. And because it's high in iron and it'll help you with strength and energy. Broccoli is a superfood.
Yes.
Kale and cabbage. And then there's also other sources of fiber that you'll get. For example, goji berries is fantastic for your immune system, as is pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
So those are just some examples of where you could get good sources of fiber.
Okay. And these are uncooked that you have them? Do you juice them? What do you do? How do you
Yeah, I mean, when I have my oatmeal, I have it, you know, with no milk.
Yeah.
I put no jam, no sugar in it.
Okay.
And I have that, you know, with hot milk. But I'd make sure I have some blueberries and goji berries so that, you know, I'm getting the B complex, the iron, and the fiber from the goji berries. And you know, blueberries is especially important for helping men.
Superfood, right?
Yes, yes. So someone who's always going to have South Indian food or South Asian food, they can carry on having that, but they need to balance it out. It shouldn't be roti 3-4 times a day, right?
Yeah.
It should not, and others may disagree with me, but you need to have a balance.
Yeah.
If you're vegetarian, you can get, you can have lentils, chickpeas, tofu's wonderful. You know, having that with stir fry. So there's some wonderful vegetarian and vegan meals that you can have.
Absolutely. Yeah. My go-to is oats, and you know, this morning it was strawberries. I did have some sliced mangoes in there, which was great, right?
No, that's fine. You're active. You're burning calories, Kam. So.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need to balance our diet.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
What kind of exercise, Ravi? You know, and what should we be doing? And again, you talked about accessibility, right? So not everybody's got access to a gym, for instance. Not everybody's got a park close by. And now, of course, you know, we're heading towards the winter months when the nights start drawing in. It's harder to go out. It's even if you've got access to a gym, it's harder to go. So what can we be doing on a daily basis that, you know, keeps us more active?
It's all right, on a daily basis, if you're working from home and you have a corporate job and you're still going to be on video calls back to back, which is so common 5 days a week, then you need to, when you're taking time away from the laptop and screen, just go out for a walk.
Yes.
Get some fresh air. Move. Don't just stay in one place.
Yes.
You're asking for trouble. And what's also important is, even if you don't want to go to the gym, you can use some basic equipment like kettlebells, which you can do a range of exercises with kettlebells. They're fantastic, very good for functional training. You can have a step box. Use a slam ball, so you can do things. A slam ball is a great way to balance your training, and even, you know, the benches. Even the benches have some barbells and dumbbells. Yeah. Just do things.
Yeah.
Do things. You use your own body weight. Do your push-ups. Do your leg raises.
Yes.
There's things you can do without going to a gym. You can still keep in shape.
I used to have a PT come to the house, and the only thing he asked me to buy was 2 dumbbells, and that was it. We used to use our furniture, chairs, you know, to do various exercises on. Like you said, you know, your own body weight can help you. What sort of length of time, Ravi? Because it's so easy, isn't it? Just do 2 minutes and think you've done something. Because, you know, when you talk about burning calories, especially, you know, the average biscuit that we eat's got 100 calories in it. You know, and then the other thing, of course, is these biscuits and chocolate bars with 99 calories. There's a tolerance level in terms of what manufacturers can state. So I think it's about 20%. So there's nothing with 99 calories, right? It's got 115 or whatever it is, right?
Correct, yes.
Because they can understate it by 20. And of course, our traditional foods, mose and everything else, we have no idea really, you know, because, you know, you can get small, big, you know, medium size. You can all variances in terms of what that food looks like, right? So what length of time on a daily basis should we be getting up and moving around?
I feel that it's very important that there should be a level of exercise at least 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And the duration of the exercise should be 45 to 60 minutes.
Yep.
And that 45 to 60 minutes will go quickly, because by the time you warm up and you do some static and dynamic stretching, and then you've got your cool down to do afterwards, so that you avoid blood pooling.
Yeah.
That in itself, you know, the pre-warm up and the warm down can take 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
So the 1 hour will go. And when people say they don't have time to exercise, I disagree with them. They do have time. It's what you do in those 24 hours.
It's what your priorities are, right? We all have the same 168 hours every single week. Every single one of us has the same, right? It's just what's important to you.
Correct.
You know, and if you want to have more time, the way to have more time is to get fitter and healthier and live longer.
Correct.
right? Correct. That will guarantee you more time, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
You know, I'm a big proponent of exercise. I've always, you know, ever since I've been a young boy, always kept very, very active. And I think, you know, good health is priceless, right?
It is. It is. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the health to go out and drive your car, walk in the park, walk on the beach, swim in the sea, what good is it?
That's right. Yeah, what good is it, right? So one of the things, as you know, we now got something called hybrid working, haven't we? Right, where, you know, your corporate job, where you go to the office, you probably won't go there 5 days a week, maybe a couple of days a week. So we're still going to have a proportion of our lives working from home, right?
Correct.
So one of the things that I used to do when I worked from home was that in the morning, before I went into my office, I went for a walk, 15-20 minutes. And then that does two things. One is it gets your body moving. The other thing is psychologically, it doesn't feel like you've just walked into your study. It feels like you've walked into work.
Correct.
Right? And they say that actually has an effect on productivity. That you feel like, you know, you're more productive doing that. And dressing for work as well. You know, obviously you don't have to wear a suit whilst you're at home, but don't be in your jog pants and trainers all day long. Because that's not conducive to your mind associates with working, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that right? Is that something that you advocate?
I do advocate that because when you have fresh air, it is very good for the brain, and it does help with your thinking.
Yes,
and it also, any type of activity where you get the heart and lungs moving is critical.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you have to condition that heart and lung because you're more vulnerable to heart disease, heart attacks, heart problems. And you know, there's a saying in health and well-being, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? As you get older, you get slower. People talk about metabolism slowing down. It's not metabolism slowing down, it's you slowing down, right? Whereas you, as a kid, you used to run everywhere. Now you don't even want to walk. You know, I'm very fortunate to live in a beautiful area of Leicestershire. And so if I get a phone call, it's usually going to last 25, 30, 40, 50 minutes sometimes. And I would just walk out my house and walk onto the field that's next door. And I just walk around the field taking my phone call. And it's absolutely fantastic because I'm getting my exercise and I'm working. And I find it so nice.
Yes.
And you come back refreshed when the phone call's done. And when the next one comes, I do the same thing again. It's absolutely fantastic. So, Ravi, do you see the health of our community improving? Because I see a lot of our older generation, especially when you get to functions, you know, difficulties in walking, overweight, etc., etc., etc. And as they get older, obviously, health fails quicker then, doesn't it? Right? Do you see signs of the younger generation taking their health more seriously?
Well, the younger generation's got more access to data now than it's ever had before.
Yeah.
But the danger of that is the misinformation, the confusion. And I'm not against people being on Instagram or social media, but if I want to learn something, I wouldn't look at Instagram or watch a YouTube video. I'd go out and I'd want to master that profession and trade. And so when it comes to exercise and training, yes, the younger generation have more information, but the danger of that is it leads to misinformation and misinterpretation.
Very important point. So, two companies that you pointed out, nothing against YouTube or Instagram, great for entertainment, great for posting, it's, you know, we have a bit of fun with it. But what I see there is that people today think that everything can be had for free, right? Because there's plenty of great information on YouTube videos, but it usually has something with a sale attached to the end of it. So my thoughts are always, you know, go and hire a personal trainer, right? Go and see a nutritionist, somebody that's mastered their craft, and, you know, invest some money, because without you actually having a little bit of pain of finding some money to do something, you won't value it anyway. You know, I've stopped giving books away. Now I just refuse to do all of that, because every time I've given a book away, nobody's ever read it. So if you go out and actually buy it, so I'll send them a link and say buy it here, whether it's Audible or whether you buy it off Amazon or whatever. And I think, you know, proper information by experts who've spent years and years and years learning their craft, you know, you should respect them enough to pay for it and not expect it for free.
Correct.
Yeah, because that's the problem now, isn't it? 10, 15 years ago, when the internet giants were starting, the information there was very, very authoritative because the people that put it up were experts in their fields.
Yes.
Now 90% of it is junk.
Yeah.
Because anything that you put up is up there forever now, isn't it?
Yes.
So fake information or misinformation is now more prevalent than ever, and we should watch it. And the other thing is, it looks good, doesn't it? You know, the case that those people make for that looks just as good as the people that real, right?
It does, and that's why it's important that for the younger generation that they go out and they do it.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Is like, if you want to learn how to swim, get in the pool.
Yes.
It's a very simple example.
Yeah. I talk about that quite a lot in my coaching calls, etc. That, you know, you can stand on the sidelines forever, but until you're on the pitch, you don't know what it's like to actually take part, right?
Correct.
You know, so if you want to learn swimming, you can read about it all you like, watch all the YouTube videos, but until you jump in that water, you know, and then just the feeling of all of that, you know, in terms of the temperature, you know, how it feels to try and actually stay afloat, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. So, Ravi, do you do any work in the community? You know, you're obviously, we talked that you're from Southall. You reach out to the community through the gurdwaras and everything, because you're a very spiritual, religious man. You are quite versed in our religion.
It's something that I have made an effort.
Okay.
And I need to get more involved in that.
Okay.
So I would love to work with people involved in our gurdwaras who are taking initiatives to help the local community get fitter and healthier.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where that gurdwara is.
Yeah.
I would be, you know, happy to collaborate and engage. It's lovely to see in Southall that there's a Get Fit Southall campaign.
Wow.
And which, you know, London Borough of Ealing and Sporting England have played a big part in. And I remember having a meeting last year with the Singh Sabha Gurdwara in Southall, where they were definitely taking very good initiatives to help people get more healthier in the Southall community.
Yes.
So there's more that can be done.
Of course,
there's more that can be done. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we know that more can be done, but we see our community, don't we? And they're suffering, aren't they? Right? So if there's any gurdwaras out there, or presidents and committee members that, you know, want to start a fitness program that you haven't got at the gurdwara, get in touch with Ravi Suman, get in touch with me. The station, you obviously have the number, and we will put you in touch with Ravi. And, you know, let's hope that something comes of that. Because we had Ranjit Singh, the wrestler from Wolverhampton. They got a wonderful academy there. And he was talking about this, that there's a few gurdwaras that they're talking to now, but it's certainly not on a national scale. You know,
it's not.
Yeah, we seem to have a lot of ignorance around this.
Yeah, it's a big shame because, you know, being born and brought up in a Sikh family and knowing about the sacrifices that the Sikh warriors made to protect Hinduism,
yes,
and to, you know, destroy tyranny in the world, they were cut limb by limb, and it was so important to be strong physically as well as mentally, because they were fighting battles.
That's right.
They were fighting battles. I mean, when you look at World War I, World War II, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but, you know, the Indian soldiers, many lives were lost.
But they're magnificent, weren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
because they were fit.
Yeah,
and healthy.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to say, aren't we?
Yeah.
So coming back on topic, that's what you need. And we're a warrior race, the Sikhs are.
Yeah. So it's we need to encourage that. And look, I know growing up it was very important to have a good education, have a good job, but, you know, you want to be physically strong as well. Yeah. You have to be physically strong, and it's just so important now.
Well, we want our kids to get educated so that they're comfortable and wealthy. But as you said, what's the point of being wealthy if you're not healthy? It goes hand in hand, right? So we need to do that, and we need to be aware of how that's working out, right?
Yes.
So why do you think, and actually before you do that, so any members of any Sangat that where your Gurdwara hasn't got a gym, is not pursuing any fitness program, and especially if your parents go there, a lot of the older generation, they visit Gurdwaras quite regularly now as a community centre. So if the Gurdwara is not laying on any activities for them, just laying on tea, jalebi and samosa, something's seriously wrong, right? So, the Gurdwaras belong to you, the Sangat. They don't belong to the committee. You have every right to go and seek out the committee and say, why are we doing this? And get other members of the Sangat to come with you, and because it's your Gurdwara, right?
That's right, and we need that, and I believe it hasn't been common because it just hasn't been the norm. But the norms need to change.
Yes.
Because the world has changed, the health problems have changed, the health pandemics have changed.
Yes.
So as a result, the programs or initiatives that we have in Gurdwaras and other community organizations, you need to have health and well-being on there, especially you have to have mental health on there. It's still unfortunately a taboo subject, not just in the South Asian community, but with other ethnicities as well. And but you need to cover that mental health. It's so important.
Great topic, and we could do another program just on that. Okay, but it's no secret, is it, that if you were fit or fitter, you had a better chance of surviving COVID if you got it. It's that simple, right?
It is.
Yeah, COVID hasn't gone away. It's not going to go away. So, we have the flu season coming up. And again, chances are that if you are fitter and your immune system is in a better condition, there's more chances that you're going to survive. It's simple, isn't it? That's not rocket science. And yet we still have, members of our community, just ignoring that totally. And, I talk a lot about our Gurdwaras because they're the centre of our community. That's what binds us together. And if the local Gurdwara is not doing its job, go and do something about it as a Sangat, because it doesn't belong to the committee or the president. They are there to serve the Sangat. Right? And then we can have a real sea change. Ravi Singh from Khalsa has talked about the Gurdwara being the centre of the community, feeding the people around, not just feeding those that are already overfed, right? And causing more disease and more harm to our own community. That, really reaching out to people around them. And then no Gurdwara would ever be vandalized, would it?
Yeah.
It's about being a part of the community. So part of the community is serving the Sangat, because that is the immediate community. So, if we're majoring on, having langar there, that's not conducive to good health, because it's not a balanced diet, then we could counter that with good exercise, couldn't we, and good health advice.
We can, but the advice has to be implemented.
Of course.
We need to see the action. And I remember this is, I remember having this conversation with a family friend of mine who I see as a dear auntie, and she did say to me, and this was before the pandemic, before the lockdown, and it's not something that I've been able to pick up again, which I need to, but she said that for the Gurdwara and going to the Guru Ravidas Gurdwara in Southwold, being a Sikh Ravidasiya, it's I see it not just in the Sikh Ravidasiya community, but in other Sikh Gurdwaras as well, that we need to pay more attention to health and well-being, and especially mental health. It's very important.
Well, that's another subject, isn't it? The whole of our community brushes it under the carpet.
Yes.
Just like lots of other things that may be taboo. But the thing is that they're here, aren't they? You know, disability, mental health, our community just wants to ignore those totally as if they don't exist. But, you know, if your child is has got a mental illness, you know about it, don't you? And you want some support from our community, because this is what we're all about, aren't we? We're supposed to be about community. We're supposed to be about family. We're supposed to be about taking care of each other. So by brushing it under the carpet, we're definitely not doing that, are we?
No, we're not. And this is where people get uncomfortable, because it's not the norm. Talking about mental health, where it's not the norm. They see it as something controversial. They might lose their job. It's going to impact their personal branding. It's going to impact their income levels. It won't have anything to do with that. No.
Well, people will find out anyway. It's not something that you can hide forever. So it's a futile exercise, isn't it, to try and hide it. The other thing is that with things like mental health, it's not forever, is it? You know, you can find a solution to that. So, if there's an issue going on, then rather than, be silent about it, because what's actually happening is that's getting worse and worse and worse, isn't it? So without treating it, without talking about it, without getting help, you're actually making your situation worse, aren't you? Or you're making it worse for the person that you're caring for, because sometimes they're not in that position to make those decisions. So with treatment, you can get better. Interviewed Ranjit Paliwal, who is a solicitor that represents people that have been sectioned. And, I'm talking to him about, and we think that when somebody gets locked up, as it were, that's forever. But that can be just a short space of time whilst that individual needs some help. So they're in an environment where they can get some treatment and come back out and be in the wider community, because that's where we want everybody, isn't it?
That's right. We want people to be thriving, and we want them to be physically and mentally healthy and well. And so health is, you have to take a holistic approach and look at everything else that's going on with the individual. Not just the diet, the training, but how they're feeling inside.
So the wedding season is here, in terms of everybody's catching up for 18 months of weddings and parties and everything else postponed. So the other thing that the Punjabis are very well known for is the consumption of alcohol. Where are you on that? What should we be doing as a community? And it's another subject that's taboo,
yes,
and under the carpet.
Yeah. Well, I've never been a drinker, so the most I'll probably have is some red wine or champagne when it's a wedding.
Just a snub, really, aren't you?
No, I just love drinking water. I have to make sure that my metabolism's in check.
Brilliant.
Water.
So you're fit forever and a day. You're taking care of your health, right? So do you eat wedding food?
You know what? You'd always see me carrying some green tea bags. And the reason why I'm saying that is because whenever I have to eat something which is high glycemic, or it's going to be high carb and it's going to be high fat, I have to manage my insulin levels. And so I make sure that if I've consumed any of those food items, I would definitely have a gap. I mean, I never drink excess water with food because it disrupts digestion.
That's right.
So I always have a gap.
Okay.
I always have an hour gap.
But green tea will neutralize some of that?
Well, the thing is that green tea does have properties in it which helps burn fat.
Fantastic.
So that's why if I was to have 1 tablespoon of a samosa.
Yeah.
so what I would do is I'd make sure that I would have some time late in the day where I've had green tea, where I'm doing what I can to burn fat.
You're just too good, Ravi. Yeah. Well, none of us can live like that.
Well, the thing is that I've written about this whenever I do my podcast and I write articles. I always mention to people that if you are having challenges sticking to your diet, always ask them to just pinch the fat on their belly button or the stomach.
Okay.
And that will remind them.
That's all we're going to do. No more pinching belly fat and on their buttons, because it's the end of another show. So we've run out of time. I'm sure there's more that we can talk about on a completely different show. Thank you so much for watching. We try to address, health and fitness within our community especially. So what Ravi's talking about is having a balanced diet. I don't think we should stop eating samosa and barfi and jalebi and all those things. Enjoy them, but a little bit of moderation, and then balance them off with a green diet. So, one of the things that I live by is have an amazing week diet-wise, Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, go and do whatever it is that you want. And luckily, parties and weddings generally happen on a Saturday, Sunday, apart from the wedding that I went to this week. So congratulate my niece Billy and her husband Kadia for a wonderful reception yesterday. So, just balance it out. Know that you've done something with exercise. If you've been sitting around, if you've overeaten, balance it out with some of the greens that Ravi talked about. It's all about maintaining a balance. Nobody should live, by not having foods that they enjoy, but do it in moderation. So that's all the advice I have for you tonight. I will see you for another episode of the Kam Johal Show next week. In the meantime, take care and good night.